An overly striking appearance, noticeable moles, mismatched eyes, and even an unusual name, these could all serve as grounds for accusations of witchcraft during the Middle Ages. Europe in the 15th to 17th centuries was swept up in a fervent hunt for witches. A helpful resource for these inquisitive seekers was the book Malleus Maleficarum by Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Springer, which detailed how to identify a real witch. The search for sorcerers was fueled by a very simple reason. By the 15th century, the continent was weary from various calamities. Regions were ravaged by wars and diseases. Royal dynasties that once seemed strong faded into history. People needed some explanation for all these misfortunes. Who was to blame? Obviously, external forces. If only they could be identified and brought to justice. The classic depiction of a witch is well described by historian Hart. She has a hunchback, poor eyesight, and strange spots on her skin. Her eyes are sunken, and she walks with difficulty. However, this image is more caricature-like and almost cartoonish. In reality, witches were often young and beautiful women, vibrant and unforgettable. Consider Esmeralda from Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. While Hugo certainly indulged in artistic exaggeration, he wasn't far from the truth. Or take Sidonia von Bork from Wilhelm Meinhold's novel. Women were primarily suspected in mysterious affairs, as they were considered more susceptible to weaknesses, making it easier for malevolent forces to ensnare them. Another factor was unusual appearance. People were suspicious of those with green eyes, mismatched eyes, or those with freckles. If someone had a large mole or birthmark, it could easily attract the critical gaze of others. It was believed that the dark side left special marks on its followers. Grace Munz from Erfurt faced the Inquisition because she had unusually large ears. In the Middle Ages, it was better not to stand out. Even cats, as household pets, could raise suspicions. During the Middle Ages, people often avoided having cats in their homes after Pope Gregory XI labeled them as servants of darkness. However, during the plague, cats regained their good reputation for helping to exterminate rats. Yet a century later, they were shunned once more. Even Cardinal Richelieu, a great lover of cats, faced sideways glances for his numerous household members. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Sawyer from Tyburn drew suspicion for owning a black dog. Exposing witches became a popular pursuit. John Francesco della Mirandola boasted that he personally identified 9 such beings. Meanwhile, the public devised their own methods for uncovering hidden enemies. One belief was that you could immobilize a witch by using children's shoes coated with a special mixture. And people genuinely believed it. In Salem, a woman who simply rarely attended church fell under suspicion. A bad temperament was another reason to doubt someone's character. By the end of the 17th century, Bridget Bishop, a native of New England, was labeled a witch due to her cantankerous nature. Her relatives, fearing they might also attract suspicion, quickly went along with the accusations. In such cases, family members often backed down, just to avoid being implicated by association. In West London, the home of Jenny Bingham was avoided by the locals because the woman had been married 4 times. Each of her husbands vanished without a trace, and Jenny had a penchant for wearing a red headscarf. To the people of London, this was extremely suspicious. Not to mention, she also kept a cat. Having an unusual name could raise eyebrows, so parents often named their children after themselves or close relatives. In the 14th century, more than half of the girls in England were named Alice, Matilda, Agnes, or Margaret. Boys were typically named William, John, Richard, or Henry. Old Anglo-Saxon names like Athelred or Elfthryth had fallen out of favor. The continent didn't show much variety either. Gradually, Europeans began to calm down. The world became larger, new lands were discovered, along with other peoples and their strange, unfamiliar customs. Tolerance began to grow. People stopped suspecting every neighbor whose behavior deviated from the norm, and even their attitudes toward cats shifted. Interestingly, the authors of Malleus Maleficarum were also condemned by the Inquisition for their research as early as the end of the 15th century, almost immediately after the book was published.